Hi, welcome to this week's video. My name is Paul. So this week, again, watercolor landscape painting, somewhat impressionist in style. In terms of materials I'm using, we just quickly go over those. The paper is Hahnemühle paper. It's just a German company. It's quite a small piece of paper. The surface of the paper is, I guess, not, as in it's not too rough, it's not too smooth, just somewhere in between. The paint I'm using is Sennelier paint. I have a limited palette. In other words, I use just a few colors. I have three blues. There's a cobalt blue, which is quite light blue. Prussian blue, which you can see was the horizon line, is Prussian blue. It's a darker blue. And then there's also an ultramarine blue, which is sort of in between those two. Most of the painting, though, is done with cadmium yellow, which is my favorite color. It's very bright, very vibrant. It kind of suggests summer or maybe springtime, I suppose. The only other colors I use, I think I also sometimes use a green from the tube. It's called light phthalo green, and a sort of orange, but it's called something like deep cadmium yellow, even though it's actually an orange. And that's about it as far as colors go. I'm recording this on March 13th, so it's almost 2021, so it's almost a sort of 2-year anniversary for me in terms of art. Back on St. Patrick's Day, so March 17th, 2019, I decided to get back into art. I had been painting when I was younger, but then gave up for more than 10 years. So in that sense, it's important to me. It's a sort of anniversary, if you like. This YouTube channel is not 2 years old. This is only, I think, maybe 6 months old now. And as I sort of said before, if this YouTube channel has any sort of meaning, it's sort of to encourage other people to maybe get into art or get back into art. Maybe like me, you used to paint and then stopped. And then the other reason for the YouTube channel is just, it's kind of like a social media thing. It's just to let people see what sort of paintings I do. This painting, in terms of composition, it's a very simple composition. You can think of it as just sort of horizontal blocks. The bottom, I don't know, 30–40% of the painting is the foreground. And you can see I'm putting on patches of color, scratching the surface of the painting with just my fingernails, and lots of this dabbing. I use paint from tubes rather than pans, so you squeeze out a little bit of the paint onto a plastic palette or a ceramic plate or whatever you have, and then you can just pick up some of that paint with the brush and just dab it on. This sort of patches of color, scratching the paper and dabbing on paint, it creates a kind of implied detail. It's not actual detail, it's just sort of, people can read it as detail. And that's why I sort of refer to my art sometimes as kind of impressionist art. This sort of dabbing on of pure colors was a technique that the impressionists sometimes used. So this is then the final painting. Again, I've sort of stretched it a bit to make it more square. It's just the format. Some social media like Facebook and Instagram, they don't like narrow portrait formats. They prefer either landscape or more sort of square format. So that's just why I stretch it a bit. Okay, so like I say, if you want to get into art, yeah, especially watercolor, definitely I recommend it. and I encourage you to try. If also like me you used to do art and then you stopped and maybe thinking about getting started again, why not, just have a go and see what happens. Okay, if you'd like to subscribe, just click on the big red subscribe button below, and hopefully see you in next week's video.